So clearly, a weak Canadian dollar, good for some people, but not for everyone. So how do you make this work for you? Or maybe the better question is, how do you lose as little money as possible? Right? Mark Ting is here with us right now. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
You're an investment advisor?
That's right.
What's the first thing you tell your clients in the context of a weak Canadian dollar and an investment advice? I mean, what is the advice?
Yeah, I mean, right now RSP time's coming along, so a lot of people are thinking about that. Diversification, asset allocation, these are keywords that are often used in the investment industry, but they actually work. So diversification means you should have your investments in many different pots.
Right. Not just Canadian.
Not just Canadian. And that's sort of the problem that Canadians have. It's not really a problem, but we're very patriotic. We like Canada. Right. We did very well during the 2008. So what tended to happen was during the 2008 sort of meltdown, they took their money and they brought it back. They repatriated it back to Canada, and they just bought Canadian assets, like a Canadian mutual fund, a balanced fund. That's sort of the go-to products for a lot of Canadians. But the thing is, they didn't change. When the world changed and some of these other markets started going up, they just kept it in Canada. So now it's reached a point where the opposite happened. Canada hasn't fared very well, but they're still in the Canadian aspect.
But then now if you're saying, if your advice is diversify, and I suppose that's always just a good ground rule to follow.
That's
but
right.
if you do that now, and if I understand you correctly, you know, buy more American, isn't this a really bad time to do that with the dollar so low?
Yeah, so what I'm saying is you should have that model in place. So what Canadians have been doing is they've lacked those assets. And just because they didn't have them then, they should probably have them now. It's just a safety aspect. So my recommendation is, if you were in a Canadian balanced fund, you don't want to go crazy. You don't want to just sell it and bring it all over to the American or international.
Because then you lose a lot of money.
Exactly,
right.
And you're selling low and you're buying high,
right.
But you want to tweak it. You want to add those positions to it. So maybe from a Canadian balanced fund to a global balanced fund. Just small little tweaks like that.
Isn't, you know, when we talk about this in the context of the dollar, I mean, in the last decade, we've seen it go all over the map, right? Above par, below par, you know, now we're at minus 16 or at 69 cents US. Isn't it all kind of cyclical anyway? I mean, you know, to kind of play devil's advocate, should anyone really be worried about any of this? Well,
I wouldn't call it cyclical. So currencies move very, very fast. Yeah. And we just saw that. It was a fairly big slide. Stock markets and economic cycles are generally cyclical, but they're different. Those are investments. Like if you asked me, where's the stock market going to be in 5 years? I could probably very comfortably say it'll likely be up, higher than today. Where will it be in 10 years? I'll be even more confident and say it'll be higher. But if you ask me, where will the Canadian dollar be in 10 years or 5 years? Absolutely no clue.
Mark Ting, good to get your advice. Thanks.
Thank you very much.